Hey guys, it's Giant here today, and I'm back with another Call of Duty video. In today's video, I'll be talking about what I have been interested in basically the last few years of my life. I got interested in them watching a couple of videos about conspiracy theories, and then I got really into them, and now I'm making this video. But basically, in this video, I'll be talking about a couple of conspiracy theories and also Mandela effects. Now I'll be defining both of them, but I'll be defining them both at different times in the video when I start to talk about them. The definition of conspiracy theory, which I'll be talking about first, is a belief that some covert by influential organizations is responsible for a circumstance or event. Now basically, that's the meaning, if y'all didn't know, like the definition of it, if y'all did not know. Basically, that's saying like the Illuminati, if you believe in them, or the government is doing something or is responsible for a circumstance or event that have happened. So yeah. The first conspiracy that we'll be talking about is chemtrails and how they're basically controlling our minds and controlling what we think and what we do in our everyday lives. Basically, if y'all don't know what chemtrails are, basically, if you look up in the sky, like if you look up in the sky and it's a clear day and you see this plane going by and you see these like trails behind the plane, those are what is known as chemtrails. Basically, the theory is that government officials are using that as a way of spreading these chemicals throughout the world and getting us to control, or like that's their way of controlling what we do and what we choose to do. Now, basically, they're doing that because not a lot of people know actually scientifically what is that. So basically, they're using that, and they're using our lack of knowledge on it to give us these chemicals without us physically knowing what is happening, and getting us to go out and do something and act a certain way or do something, and basically controlling our minds. Now, I believe in this because I do not know what's up there and what is actually. And if you think about it, it makes sense. The government is always about controlling us and doing all the stuff like that. So it makes total sense. Now, the next theory we'll be talking about is Stanley Kubrick faked the moon landing. Now, that is one of the biggest events that happened in basically history. And to think of it being set up or fake is crazy. But bear with me, keep an open mind about it. Basically, have you ever watched it? Like, watched Neil Armstrong actually land on the moon? I'm pretty sure everybody has. Now, if you think about it, in the video I watched and many other videos that, like, in the same video that people watch as me, when a rocket lands, it has a lot of air and fire and basically all this stuff coming out of the engine. So when it goes to land, there would be dust and debris on and flying everywhere, or like not debris, but like dust and like gravel and stuff like that flying, and you see none of that. When you go and watch it, you actually see none of that. And it's weird to think about because it is something so big and so something that has happened a lot, and it's surprising and it's kind of weird to think about it as it being fake, but it's believable that they would fake something like that. It says like giving the impression of blowing in the wind. That's basically, it says, hold on, but the scientific supportive argument for this states that when the hold on, whoop, where is it? Hold on, I had to find it. Alright, it says, you know how Neil Armstrong was the first person to walk on the moon? This theory posits, what if he didn't? What if instead the whole thing was a deleted scene from 2001 A Space Odyssey? As the theory goes, back in 1968, Stanley Kubrick was in post-production for his masterpiece space film when he was approached by the US government to help them direct the moon landing. America was in the time of crisis in the late 60s. There was a ton of social unrest. The Cold War was the Soviet Union was intensifying, and President Kennedy had been assassinated in a parade in Texas only a few years earlier. But although the technology wasn't ready for the moon landing, the Master of Illusion in Hollywood would help fake it and give the country a reason to unite and cheer. Now that's basically saying that we faked it and we used a scene from a movie so we can make it seem that we're this great big community and like country and we should all unite. As it says, proponents of this theory point to a few things as evidence. One, that the American flag is waving on the moon, even though there is no wind in space. But the scientific supportive argument for this states that when the flag is unfurled, it moves as the pole is inserted into the ground, giving the impression of blowing in the wind. Another piece of evidence is that there is no visible stars in the picture taken by the Apollo astronauts from the moon's surface, but again, this has a reasonable explanation. The landing took place during lunar morning when the sun shone brightly, meaning the stars were not bright enough in the light to be captured. Such as it is with conspiracy theories, they all sound kind of believable at first. Obviously. So I'm going to get into a few Mandela effects. Basically the Mandela effect's definition is the Mandela effect is the observed phenomenon of people having clear memories of events that did not occur or misremembering significant events and facts. Basically that, let's say you remember one certain thing and you're positive that happened. You're sure it happened, but it didn't actually happen. You thought it happened, but no, it didn't. Basically an example is, I think it was, the Berenstain Bears. Many people think it is the Berenstain Bears, and I thought that through my whole childhood. A lot of people have thought that, but it actually is the Berenstain Bears. And I know it sounds weird. It sounded weird to me too. Basically, it's all what we thought we remembered from our childhood, but no, it was completely different. Basically, we think we remember something. I swore that it was the Berenstain Bears, but no. This one is sort of not believable, but I always thought it was as well. In between Kit and Kat, I always thought there was a dash. It makes sense for there to be a dash, because it's a Kit Kat, because there's a space in between them. in there, and it makes it seem that like there should be a dash, but no. Now that one was crazy to me, and it was weird. Now, the next conspiracy theory is where I live and where many other people live in the United States. There's this fast food restaurant called Chick-fil-A. Now, when I grew up in North Carolina, I swore that Chick-fil-A was spelled weird, and a lot of people thought that as well. I could have sworn Chick-fil-A had a weird spelling, because I physically remember driving down the road saying, "Can we go get Chick-fil-A?" And then me thinking to myself and like saying out loud, "That's spelled wrong." And at the time I was like third grade. That was third grade. And I was like, "That's spelled wrong." But no, it wasn't. It's just it's like something that I thought I remembered and it never actually happened. I think another one is like, trying to think of one. Hold on. I'm trying to remember some. Basically, oh yeah. Oscar Mayer isn't spelled that way. Oscar Mayer is like, I think this hot dog brand, and people thought it was OSCARMEYER, and now I thought that a lot because we do have that where I live now, and I thought that a lot, but it's actually spelled Oscar Mayer. And see, just a little spelling mistake could change the whole perspective of something. The last thing I would like to talk about Mandela effects is the Monopoly guy never actually had a what is it called? Monocle on. He never had one, which it makes sense for him to have one, but you know, never happened. But if you did like this video, please like and sub and comment if you want to see more of these videos.